Hello, everybody, and welcome into Season 5 of Tuesday Night Thunder, live tonight from the World Center of Racing. That's right, it's Daytona International Speedway. Joining me in the booth tonight, as always, co-host Dawson Wise. I'm Austin Green, and you are watching PGR eSports. Dawson, we got another good one in store, and after kind of a crazy week and a little bit of a branch out, if you will, as you know, we were at Michigan International Raceway. We returned to the roots here tonight at Daytona International Speedway. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Glad to be on track last week. It was kind of a cool experience, so I hope everybody enjoyed that one. And me not really having much speed, but hey, it was fun to be out there with these guys. And it was a branch out. It was interesting. It was weird. We had some late cautions, some chaos, so it was a lot of fun. But we move now back to what we know best, and that's super speedway racing. And what better place to do it than the World Center of Racing under the lights?
Yeah, and it was fun to watch, and I think a lot of drivers had a lot more speed than they were expecting. But as we noted here tonight, going to get back to kind of the usual, if you will, what these drivers are used to racing at, as we'll now take a look at your starting grid. How about Matthew Baker, the NBG Motorsports driver, takes the pole as he puts down a 50.589. It'll be Garrett Maines who starts to his outside in second, with Malik Ray, another one of the Coke Series drivers in the field. He will start back in third. Michael Triscaro for NBG Motorsports back and forth, with Jeff Merck rounding out the NBG trio tonight. He will start in fifth. Landon Veliky back in sixth. New addition to Nightmare Esports, it's Matt Lee for Nightmare Esports in seventh. Jared Haynes rounds out row number 4 in eighth. Mark Von Dell in ninth from McCullough Motorsports. And it's Joe Herta for the Jack Shack rounding out your top 10.
Row 6 will feature Evan Karlbahn in the 71 and Kyler Wynn, the defending Podium 500 champ, in 12th. Row 7 starting 13th to be Sean Corbett for Hyper Motorsports in the 45 and Ethan Eckert in the 12 machine. Row 8, Trevor Osborne out another Jack Shack entry in the 89 alongside Dylan Jones in the all-white 11. Row 9 will feature Logan York in 17th in the 02 and D3, Daniel Eberhardt in the 90 in that all-white and blue paint scheme. And then rounding out the top 20 on Row 10, Richard Elliott in the 00 for BAR and Mike Davenport for Team PGR.
Joshua McCullough in the 05 starts 21st here tonight. To his outside, it's Brock Westmoreland for PGR eSports in 22nd. Then you've got Christopher McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr. lining up row number 12, the two teammates, captains for McCullough Motorsports. Then it's Jonathan Herbert for Hyper Motorsports back in 25th, Tucker McClendon 26th, Tony Cox, William Scott back in row 14, and it's going to be Steve Sizemore and Jimmy Emos rounding out the field as they will start 29th and 30th. All right, taking a look at your race info. We talked about back at Daytona International Speedway, 2.5 miles in length, over 30 degrees of banking in the corners. Track temp going to be 77 degrees to start this race off. Weather outside, 77 as well. 45% humidity, partly cloudy skies. Winds at 2 miles an hour, 60 laps going to be the distance here tonight. 40% fuel, 3 sets of tires. No fast repair and a stage break on lap 25, rather the end of 25. And here we go, time to roar the engines back to life. Tuesday Night Thunder, race 7 is underway at Daytona.
Lap 1 complete, lap 2 up on the scoring pylon, and it's Matthew Baker with some aggressive moves early. Malik Ray got clear off turn number 4, jumped on the bumper of Garrett Maines, and Matthew Baker said no sir, slammed the door shut, and now continues to try to take a rather urgent push here from Malik Ray. Not very appreciative of the way Baker raced him there early in this race on lap 1. Baker to the confines of his teammate now on the bottom, Jeff Merck for NBG. Topside, it's a pair of Coke Series entries. Malik Ray will go to lead the Signal Chevrolet, with the MCU body Ford Mustang in behind him. And I noticed so far already the cool track temp, Austinette's allowing that bottom line to continue to be really, really good, and that's been a pattern in this car. Tonight, so far, the bottom is the place to be as the field races back to the start-finish line.
It certainly is. Matthew Baker put down a phenomenal qualifying effort to get him where he runs right now. And Malik Ray, I'm telling you, he has been very dangerous as of recent, especially when he gets linked up with the 82 of Kyler Wynn. So keep an eye on that. Watch for those two to get together. Right now, Kyler towards the back of this outside line. He's looking 3 wide here on the one of Joe Herta, but really nothing doing as he just doesn't have the support out back to get that third lane going. So he'll have to drop back down as he now runs alongside the 71 of Evan Carlbon. But he's not going to give up on this lane just yet, Dawson. And I'll tell you what, with how much harder it is to push in these cars now, controlling lanes has almost become easier. It's a little bit harder to necessarily swap lanes, but once you get in front of the line, it's a lot easier to control if you got a teammate next to you, because guys can't push as hard as they used to, and if you can't push as hard, you can't necessarily get that line to the front. So it'll be interesting to see here tonight who's able to keep the guy in front, up front the longest, as right now it looks like the advantage goes to Garrett Maines and Malik Ray on the outside.
Well, yeah, I see what you're saying now. I almost argue in the other direction that when you could slam draft, it kind of evened out a little bit in terms of you could kind of stay on the guy's back bumper. It kind of gridlocked the lanes, whereas now it's all about finesse. Garrett Maines to the outside, going to hang Malik in the middle. Triscaro, the lead pusher on Malik Ray, a duo we've seen a lot of the last couple weeks. Garrett Maines leapfrogs to the lead. He'll cut down on the bumper of Malik Ray, but as I was saying, it almost kind of went the opposite way, and that now it's a lot more finesse. You have to be a little bit let me just say better at getting closer to the guy's bumper without being on it to push, and that's the more effective way to do it now. Whereas before we had a little bit of a slam drafting, which I think equalized things for several guys. Now the gap between the great pushers and the good pushers is even bigger than it used to be, and you can tell with the way these lines are moving. And example A, Kyler Wynn, Garrett Maines, Ethan Eckert just made a ton of ground up right there on the backstretch just by almost linking up and being a little bit closer than the lines below him.
Yeah, and boy, what a beautiful sight. That was 3 abreast throughout the entirety of this lead pack, just about, as they were going through turn 1 and 2, but now things will start to shuffle back down to 2x2 as Kyler Wynn, Ethan Eckert, the only 2 up top, and they just don't quite have the help to keep that lane going forward. Meanwhile, up front, you've got a Ford Mustang and a Chevy leading the way. Matthew Baker on the bottom, Garrett Maines up top, and they will stay 2x2 for the lead off at turn 4. Daniel Eberhardt in the 90, no move yet, but you see he is pretty close to the 11 of Dylan Jones, only separated by a couple of cars. That's another duo to keep an eye on here tonight. You know, when they get together, they're going to be dangerous as further ahead. Looks like they may be coming up on the first sign of lap traffic here tonight. And I believe that's going to be the 67 of Jimmy Emos. Indeed it is. And hold your breath here.
You got to hope Jimmy Emos can get to the apron. Wow, that's a lucky break. And it doesn't always happen that way, where you can catch that guy on the straightaway where that guy can bail. You can have some more room, and they're able to get by without any incident. But that was going to get hairy for a second. A lot narrower than Talladega. Not as much room to work. And that makes that situation extremely nerve-wracking as a driver. You see that guy coming. If you're Malik Ray or Kyler Wynn, you're thinking, oh boy, I don't know how we're going to get through this one. Give me some room down there, guys, to let us work. But luckily for the field, Emos able to bail to the apron. He'll go a lap down early. A couple other cars I'm not sure made the grid. I got to go double check. One of them was William Scott. He is out there, but one that didn't on time was Brock Westmoreland, and he is also behind the 8 ball now. He'll be the next up to be lapped off the draft back in, I believe, the 29th position.
Yeah, a tough break right there for Brock Westmoreland. He's going to have a lot of work ahead of him here, but if he gets that caution here, I guess I should say if he can make it to that scheduled caution, which is the stage break at the end of lap 25, then he could certainly still be in contention for this race. All right, let's go take a look at some of the driver cams that we have here tonight, starting first with the 60 of Jeff Merck, who currently has himself in pretty good position as he runs right around, kind of sticking a bit of an interesting spot here, Dawson. He's on the inside, but he's still trapped. He doesn't necessarily have anywhere to go, and so he's just kind of holding his breath. He's working with a teammate, though, here in Matthew Baker, so I think he's pretty content to stay there as it rides right now, but no fast repair. Certainly it's going to make it a lot more stressful for really any of these drivers, knowing that if there's a mistake, it could cost them their race. And then up front we go to the onboard view here in the driver cam for Michael Triscaro. As we saw further back real quick there, that looks like Malik Ray who bailed out of the pack. Not sure what happened there, but how about this, Dawson, the 34, the driver from Chagrin Falls, Ohio, now at the front of the field leading the way, and here comes Ethan Eckert in the 12.
Well, they've been able to trap a couple of the dominant cars, Maines and Baker, kind of in line on the bottom. There's nowhere for them to go, and now you're able to cycle a few more of these guys forward. Kyler Wynn, Malik Ray drop out. They drop back 4th and 5th on the outside, and allows Ethan Eckert, Michael Triscaro, as well as the Joe Huerta machine for the Jack Shack, and the new nightmare entry of Landon Velicky in the 62, a fresh new paint scheme aboard that car. And boys, he had a pretty good start to his nightmare eSports career. Couple good runs. Now, his run in I believe it was the Thursday night race was faltered in a crash, but fortunately for him, continues to have a good run. And so far, good showing for the 62 machine and a few others as well. Oh, man, that was almost the end of it, though, right there with that push on Eckert down the backstretch.
And notice everybody's starting to single file out here a little bit. Only about 5 cars still in that top lane. 2 of them being Malik Ray in the 7 and Kyler Wynn in the 82. They're sitting at the back of this train. They've got Joe Herta, Landon Velicki, Ethan Eckert, the 3 cars near the front on the outside groove. But pit stops, they should be coming up pretty soon. You got to remember, it's only 40% fuel in these cars, which can take you probably somewhere to about, if I had to guess, maybe 14 to 16 laps. That would be my general estimate. Maybe you can go a few more than that, actually. They might be able to stretch it to, maybe at the most 16 to 18, but I'd say for now we'll keep it more conservative at 14 to 18 laps. And so with that point being, you can't make it all the way through stage 1 on a tank of gas. You're going to have to pit, and that means drivers need to start thinking about getting down, maybe riding around, maybe saving a little fuel to fix a certain strategy here for when they do go in. Maybe certain drivers will only have to take a can. Maybe some only have to take half a can. Who knows? Either way, though, looks like Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn, they're not on any sort of strategy except for go to the front. Here comes the 82 and the 7 up top. Kyler Wynn's got to push. Malik Ray trying to get there, but now Garrett's going to jump to the middle. The outside, though, continues to roll as they work into the tri-oval.
Bottom lane's got to get cycled up here. Garrett Maines is going to bury the 34 car. Luckily for Triscaro, his teammate Matthew Baker on the scene quickly. Eckert trying everything he can to get Garrett Maines clear, but the bottom lane surges big time through the banking, and Triscaro leads again by half a car length. They have fended off that top lane run by Wynn and Ray. Trevor Osmernoth going to bow out here and give them a chance to drop back in line. The 89 had started to come forward a little further back. Well, the efforts at the bottom may be all for naught. Maine's going to get awfully close, but not quite. Oh, man, Triscaro grabbed about a centimeter of the left rear quarter panel and keeps Garrett Maines pinned with only about 3 laps until we anticipate a pit stop.
That's the big headline right there, is almost, not quite. And what that means is that not only did Garrett Maines not get clear, but the 12 of Ethan Eckert did all that push and used to, oh man, what a big moment that was coming out of the trial there, as I think Eckert and Triscaro either had a little bit of net code or some slight contact that got those two really out of shape. And that's just a product of this outside trying to side draft the bottom. The bottom's trying not to hit the apron, but I mean, man, right now, if you're Michael Triscaro, Dawson, how are you feeling? I mean, you've been in this position so many times, maybe not this early in the race, but, well, now that Garrett gets clear, it might give this 34 a chance to breathe, as now he'll take over the pushing, and Garrett Maines will take over the lead with Ethan Eckert now getting a chance to cool on the outside into 3.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. Obviously, if you're Mike, it's been a little bit since you were in position to win a race, so when you get to that spot, especially early, some pit stops out back, by the way, a few cars going to pit road. Looks to be the McCullough group and Richard Elliott that died to pit road. They're going to bring William Scott Jr. with them as well. But back to Mike, when you get in that spot and it's been a while, the nerves are a little bit higher. You're a little bit more fidgety with the wheel. The more you go, the longer you go without getting to victory lane, without getting a stage win, something like that, it gets more and more and more nerve-wracking, because you're just not sure where the next one's going to happen. So I completely understand the position he's in, but doing a good job right now managing the race. Going to push Garrett, but not going to be enough. New leader in turn 3, Ethan Eckert. Look at that push on the outside by Velicki, or maybe no. Garrett Maines grabs the quarter panel.
Yeah, I don't know if that was just Velicki trying to get him clear and maybe pushed a little bit too late into the corner or something different. But either way, that was a big moment, and another big moment right there as Michael Triscaro gave a little shove to the one of Garrett Maines. And now they're going to make more contact, Triscaro and Eckert. These two continue to kind of keep the elbows out. Now, Dawson, I had a chance to race with these guys on Sunday in these Xfinity cars, and I mean, I don't think that we can really describe it enough to the viewers watching at home how much of a difference it is now with the way you have to push. If you do any more than basically just kind of link onto a guy and then push, it just turns that car sideways. You have to be so delicate now with, kind of get close, drag the brake, wait till you can feel the front end of your car, just like to start to hook up, and then you push. If you do it any sooner, things have not been working out. But here we go, Michael Triscaro back to the top of the racetrack. He's going to make it 2x2 for the lead as Garrett Maines awaits help from the 5 of Matthew Baker. He's going to get it. The 34 will take that lap, though, as they cross the line. 15 of 60 complete, and still no pit stops for your leaders yet.
And the benefit for Triscaro, and you'll see it here on entry to 1, is that's a tight moment with Garrett Maines. That was really close. And I'll tell you, a couple things contributed to that. Number 1, Garrett cut him a huge break, and number 2, Baker was not very close to the 1, so it was allowed to work. Now, Garrett may show his frustration a little bit here down the backstretch, but the benefit for Triscaro is he had two of the best pushers so far tonight on the outside with him, Eckert and Veliky, and that propelled him back to the lead. Man, Michael Triscaro polished tonight so far in the 34 machine. He's made a couple really tight moves, tight window moves that take a lot of confidence to make, and he's able to complete one right there to lead as Veliky drops down, his teammate Matt Lee trying to get down. And you mentioned him earlier in the show. Daniel Eberhardt and Dylan Jones are starting to make their way forward, similar as we've seen in the past.
And I have a feeling that Veliky, well, I thought he was going to try to let his teammate Matt Lee down, but maybe Lee doesn't feel like it's time to go down, at least not just quite yet. Now, further back in the field, currently sitting in 12th, another one of our onboard cams here tonight. It's the driver for the Jack Shack, Trevor Osmanoff. He's up 3 positions from where he started this race at. And boy, he's got some momentum on his side right now after getting the win in PGR last Thursday. That's a big win for not just him, but also that team. And Trevor with 3 wins in the big series, Dawson. You know, it's just a matter of time before he starts racking them up over here in Tuesday Night Thunder as well. But he looks like he's having a pretty good time. So here we go. We're going to see pit stops and quite a few of them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is most of the field. The only 4 cars on the track are the ones that couldn't get down. Lee, Jones, Eberhardt, York are the ones that stay out. Everybody else coming to the service of their pit crews here for the first round of green flag pit stops. And those 4 cars, they got to get it going. Now, so far doing a good job of staying connected, but that group that's on pit road, a major advantage now in terms of speed, because with this new update, again, I've noticed the more cars you have, the more energy you have, and the better ability you have to drive away to put time on these other 2 smaller groups that have come to pit road.
As we watch the entirety of the field just about that all pitted that time leave the pits, looks like everybody's going to get out clean. The 72 of Tony Cox, the last car to leave. And now the question is, how does the McCullough Motorsports group, along with a few of the others that pit, how do they fare out? The answer is not very good. Joshua McCullough leading this group. Mark Von Dell in tow. Christopher McCullough's there, as is Richard Elliott. Ken McCullough Jr., though, not able to stick with his teammates. The point is, for Joshua McCullough and company here, Dawson, they did not stick with the leaders. Looks like they will catch a couple of bridge cars here, so they may start to make their way back to the front, but I just don't know if they're going to have enough time, and I agree. Seems like the pit and later strategy worked out well because the bigger pack was the one that pitted later. And now the question is going to be, how did this group that pit last fair? Dylan Jones, Matt Lee, Daniel Eberhardt, they all now start to work their way back to the gears as they get off of pit road. Logan York was with them as well, as here comes Michael Triscaro, Garrett Maines, and Matthew Baker screaming through the tri-oval here with 18 laps complete.
Yeah, that McCullough group is going to catch the draft, but they got some work to do, being almost 6 seconds behind the leaders, so they got to make it happen and make it happen quickly. And in fact, looking at the gaps on back, it looks like the gap from Haynes to Wynn, which is from 14th to 15th, is going to be too much for that group to overcome. So I don't think they're actually going to get back to the leaders before the stage break. I think it's going to be about, maybe by the end of things, about a 10-car battle for the stage, unless Merck can drive his group back to the front. But even then, look at, back around Eckert. Back around those guys, they're not very organized right now. Oh, man, scramble. Oh, man, cars loose. The 11, the 04, the 90. As the group of 3 right here had to duck out of the way. As I believe it's 2 laps to go in stage number 1. I believe we're back to lap 20 for the stage break tonight. And if that's the case, all bets are off. Here we go for the stage points.
Yeah, and I believe you're correct, Dawson. Yeah, quick update on that. It is indeed at the end of lap 20, so you're right. 2 to go. Going to have one more chance at it if you can't make it happen this lap. Now Matthew Baker looks high. Back low he goes. It's Garrett Maines. He'll now jump to the high side. He's awaiting a push here from the 04 of Matt Lee. Daniel Eberhardt's there. Now Lee's going to split 3 wide. That was actually Dylan Jones in the 11. And he's going to follow Matt Lee 3 by 3 through turn 3. Triscaro's clear. Will Baker try to jump high? Yes, he will. Here comes Matthew Baker. Triscaro looks to block nothing there. They are 3 wide racing for the lead off of turn 4.
Yeah, that's going to allow Jeff Merck to potentially get his way back into this battle. He's got help from behind from Malik Ray. They're going to have out of steep trouble. Almost. Triscaro went sideways. He saved it. Maines, does he cut left here in 1? No, Baker starts to block. Maines stays up, trying for the right rear. He's not quite going to get it. Now Baker has to dive back down the racetrack. Off turn 2, Maines to the help of Eckert. Triscaro on the back of his teammate Matthew Baker, and it's Matt Lee trying to salvage what he can, but I'm not sure if they'll make it back. It's Maines versus Baker again in 3.
Yeah, I'm getting nervous about this too. Remember, this is just for the stage break. Oh, Eckert swipes him just a little bit right. Garrett's going to hold on. A lot of pushing that they're going to get right here for the final time off of 4 in the stage. Drag race all the way back to the green and white checkered. Who's going to get here first? Baker versus Maines. Baker gets the push. Matthew Baker takes stage 1 at Daytona.
Oh, man, you finally let out your breath. I was holding mine for the entire last lap. That was on the edge of control, and that's just for a couple stage points here on lap 20 of this race, let alone 40 laps from now when we get to that final checkered flag. What a first stage of racing. That was really entertaining from start to finish. It calmed down a little bit, had some pit stops, came back out, got ramped back up. Man, what a great stage one.
Yeah, and Baker's got to be feeling good. He gets the stage win, and he sees his teammate Michael Triscaro push him to it. So that was a lot of good teamwork there for NBG Motorsports to get this 5-car another stage win this season. Baker's already got a few wins, but again, looking to see if he can rack up some more stage points to continue that fight for the regular season championship. So we'll see everybody come down to the pits and at least take fuel. Maybe some drivers that will take some tires as well. We'll have all that and more when we come back. And actually, when we come back, we're going to see if we can get a word with your Stage 1 winner. Stick with us. We'll be back at Daytona.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway with race 7 of season 5 here for Tuesday Night Thunder. Stage 1 is complete. By the way, I say stage 1, but it's really the only stage of the race. Your stage winner is Matthew Baker. Hey, Baker, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Well, you get the job done there, and you see it, or well, I guess I should say your teammate saw to it. Michael Triscaro gave you the winning push. Tell us a little bit about all the chaos there towards the end of the stage. I mean, we saw a lot of really crazy racing right there in the last couple laps.
Yeah, after the pit stops, we knew that Lee and them were going to probably take like one. They took 1-8. We took 3-4 there. So they had that lead coming off of pit road, but we knew that we were going to have the momentum around them. It was just how could I get around Garrett and get hooked up with Mike. Couldn't really do it once we got all past them. I then decided to, try and play my own fate. And when I went to go to the outside to take a run with Lee, he hung me 3, and I was like, oh, well, we'll take 5th in the stage, it's fine. And then Garrett hung out Mike, I don't know why. And it opened up the gap for us for me to push myself and Mike clear, get myself up, and get back down in front of Mike. He gave me a great push. And, man, I don't know. I love these cars. I'm having so much fun racing this car. The pushes are a little unstable, but you have to be careful. And you had to be careful before in this car. It's just, now it's uber careful. There's no netcode through the bumper. It will hook you if you drive into them too hard. So you have to be very careful, and it's a ton of fun for sure.
It's been a ton of fun to watch. You've looked good through stage 1, as has your team, NBG Motorsports. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll see if we're talking to you at the end of this thing.
Thanks, man.
All right, there you go, Matthew Baker. And boy, he sounded pretty excited and not surprised, Dawson. I mean, it's been fun to watch, so I can only imagine how fun it's got to be in the car. Now, just before we do go back green, we had an incident here. Not sure exactly when this took place. This did not bring out the caution, so we actually didn't have any data on it. The only reason we found out about this was because Logan York, you saw in chat, said Trevor Oswanoth crashed. So we were curious about what exactly happened here. Watch this, through 3 and 4. Looks like the 021 starts to get a little bit loose, and then Trevor gets up the track trying to get out of the way maybe. Oh, wasn't the best analysis, but we're getting ready to go back green. One more view. Yeah, Trevor just trying to dodge 67 at Emos, maybe comes down a bit. Contact there, and boy, that's just a tough break for both of those cars.
Yeah, tough break. Unfortunately, one of those checkup deals in racing where you run out of room. Stuff happens really fast, and unfortunately for Trev, he couldn't miss that one. Now he was able to, I believe, get all the damage fixed and come back out on the speedway, stay on the lead lap. That car looks almost brand new, so he was able to get at least some of it fixed and be back in contention here.
Seems like the damage, too, is a little bit more fragile than it used to be on these cars. A brief impact to the outside wall may not give you a ton of damage overall, or even aero-wise, but if it breaks that suspension, man, it is just so tough to claw back from. All right, here we go. 25 of 60 laps complete. The final stage at Daytona is underway, and it's a good restart from the 2 Nightmare eSports teammates. Problem is, no help out back for Landon Velicky. Matt Lee saw that. He quickly jumps up to the top to come to the aid of his teammate, the 71 of Evan Karlbahn, the driver who did not get the best restart. He's still trying to get through the gears and get the momentum back up so that he can get... Oh, there they go. Hold on to it. Oh, my goodness. Boy, that was almost a push gone wrong.
Trouble out back there wrecking. Josh McCullough, another car in the wall. Jared Haynes for the Jack Shack, and the caution flag is going to come out quickly.
Well, I was going to say they saved it, but unfortunately they just didn't quite hold on to it, and... Man, we got one stuck up in the wall up here. I was trying to figure out exactly who that was. Don't think it's Jared Haynes.
I think it was Josh McCullough, maybe in the 05.
May have been here. Certainly looking around. No, it's not Josh. We'll figure out who it is here when we take a look back at the replay. Either way, certainly not the way that everybody wanted to see that first lap go after going green through the entirety of stage 1. But watch this back. In fact, we'll go up front here for starters because this is where this all kind of starts. Watch Matt Lee on the outside, and we'll go to TV3. It says the stack-up kind of occurs. Now watch his Landon Velicky. You know, we talked about he didn't have much help. Well, here comes Baker with the run, and as he gets close to the 62, all of a sudden that picks up the pace for the 62. He's got to run. He's trying to maybe just either give a light love tap to Matt Lee or just try to arrow push him, but there's just so much of a run out back, Dawson, that he just can't quite keep it off of him. And in fact, we'll go to the chopper view. Watch this again. We'll play this full speed for you, but watch how quickly this gap closes up. So Baker gets there, all of a sudden, big run, and Baker actually might have just tapped the 62. And boy, that was a huge save from everybody right there. I mean, that easily should have and could have been the big one, but you saw it gave a little bit of damage here to the right rear of Garrett Maines, and then out back is where the trouble kind of got sparked here. Ethan Eckert, yeah, Jared Haynes got turned around, then a couple of big hits. Eckert actually went through the grass, and then it was Joshua McCullough who took the big hit. But I think it might have been the 7 of Jared Haynes who actually got stuck up on the outside wall. We're still trying to figure it out. Yeah, that's indeed who it was. But, I mean, overall, Dawson, that just looked like kind of a checkup.
Yeah, checkup gone wrong. When it starts at the front, it accordions backwards. And unfortunately, right there, it collects several cars further back because, again, and I've said this before, as that accordion goes back, as that checkup gets further back in the field, it gets worse. The effects are worsened a little bit, and by the time it gets back to Jeff Merck, Jared Haynes, Josh McCullough, there's not much you can do. If you're Jeff Merck there, you get in the back of the 05, it happens so unbelievably fast that there's not much he could have done. I know Josh isn't going to be very happy. I know Jared's not going to be very happy, but at the end of the day, that's what happens. When a checkup starts, not much you can do to get the car back straight, to get the car stopped in time. These cars don't stop well. They're very heavy. We saw that last week especially as well. And these cars, they don't like to get woed down, and unfortunately, that is the case. Now, some damage to some guys up front. Garrett Maines has some damage to his car. He's going to get repaired, but obviously some guys out back as well are going to have to get their cars fixed under the caution flag.
That was a pretty significant hit for two drivers, notably Jared Haynes and Joshua McCullough. For Josh, that could be a night ender because remember, there's no fast repair. That was pretty heavy damage, especially if it's suspension related, which I would assume it was with how hard he hit the right front into the safer barrier. And then Jared Haynes gets it looped back around. He should be able to continue, but certainly will have some repairs that he has to make on that car. I'll give you a couple more views of it here. This was the zoomed-in shot, and there's Jared Haynes getting turned around, but the bigger impact here was going to be for Joshua McCullough. Haynes and Jeff Merck kind of hitting nose to nose. And then watches the 05 here. He's trying everything to not go straight up into the outside wall after getting clipped by William Scott, and just can't do it. Hood flies off, pops back on, but the damage is done as everybody else scatters to the inside and the apron to miss him.
Yeah, just tough breaks all around there. It's unfortunate. It's racing. It happens, and we almost saw it happen at the end of stage 1. It happens right there finally. They got away with several in stage 1 that they're not going to get away with here in stage 2, and it starts right there right after we went back racing.
And so with just 27 of 60 laps complete, not quite at the halfway point yet. Now, by the way, how fuel is shaping up. Remember, and in fact, Dawson, do you remember the exact lap that they made that pit stop during stage 1?
It was somewhere around 16 to 18, I believe, is when we saw them make the pit stop, which is about normal for this fuel load.
And is right about what I was going to say is going to make this interesting, right? Because that's going to be right around, can you make this on a one-stop? Might have to save just a little bit of fuel to do so, but if you're running in the pack, I think it is very doable, as we're going to go back green here with 29 of 60 laps complete. And how about up front now, the 87 of Jonathan Herbert? And I'll tell you what, we're not going to talk too much about him because every week that we have, things have not worked out well. So the 87 up 24 from where he started. Jonathan Herbert leads the way. Matt Lee at second for RMR eSports. Then it's Matthew Baker back in third. Landon Veliky currently sits in fourth. You got Joe Herda in fifth, Mike Davenport in sixth. And then it's Michael Triscaro back in seventh with Ethan Eckert in eighth. Malik Ray, he's got some work to do. He's in ninth, but the good news for him is he's got a teammate in Kyler Wynn sitting just to his outside in 10th.
Yeah, and now it gets pretty interesting. You talked about the fuel strategy, but also just less and less laps. The further back you are, you got to go get that track position back, and especially if you're a guy like Garrett Maines, had to fix damage, you're behind the 8-ball, got to get back to the front somehow, got to pick through traffic to do it, and unfortunately, not a ton of cars out back that I think are willing to go yet that don't really want to get out on the safer barrier and race. Now, you get up to Kyler Wynn and Ethan Eckert, I think that's a little bit different opinion, but the cars behind Garrett, he's going to have to try to maybe do it himself to get up towards those guys, get something rolling, and get back to the front. One car behind the 8-ball trying to get another race win. Jonathan Herbert, I hate to talk about him, but he's in a good spot right now. He's leading the race. He did stay out on that pit stop, though.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, too. We haven't had too many chances yet to see the effect of old tires on these cars, but still have the possibility of seeing that tonight, depending on how long of a green flag run we can go on right here. The 55, Mike Davenport, by the way, you see that new color scheme for the 55, a good look, and so far, so good here. We'll see how the rest of the night plays out for him. The field will now shift back down to second gear as they start to tighten things back up. iRacing pace car makes the left turn back to the pits. Here we go. Just one lap short of halfway. 29 to 60 complete. Green flag is back in the air at Daytona. And it's a great restart for the 87 of Jonathan Herbert. Maybe a little bit too good of a restart. Here comes the 5 of Matthew Baker. He's trying to pull clear to jump up. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it, at least not yet. Matt Lee starts to get a run back on the outside with a push from Joe Herda. 2x2 as they work onto the banking into turn number 1. Things single file out just a little bit out back, but here comes Malik Ray, Ethan Eckert. They're going to jump back to the top. Kyler Wynn looking for a run, but now the 71 of Carl Bond will block. Looks like Kyler Wynn's going to look a lane higher and already 3 wide towards the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and guess who got to him? Garrett Maines, but Wynn drops out of line, and Maines will parachute now. He'll drop the anchor out the left side of that one car, and he'll await some more help. Now Kyler back to the outside, but he's hesitating. Carl Bond as well is hesitating, and that's going to stop him for a moment. Now they'll get together. Up front still Herbert versus Matt Lee, but Wynn and Maines slowly start to get a little bit bigger in the mirrors of these leaders as they await one more car, and I'm imagining they're going to get their third taker when they get to Malik Ray here in the middle of the corner. Let's see if he jumps out of line. I wouldn't be surprised. They're going to get to him too fast, potentially. It's going to be really close. Off to Herbert to a commanding lead while Ray tries to figure out what he wants to do next out back on the back straightaway.
Yeah, I think they were trying to set it up to make that move down the back. Yeah, there he goes. The 7 will jump out. Yeah, they wanted to wait till they had a chance to give him a really good stable push, and boy, it works out well. Look at the momentum that they were able to get right there, down about half the back straightaway and all the way into turn 3. Now the 7 will draw even with the second row, almost gets up to the first row here off of turn 4. And just like that, here comes Malik Ray looking to see if he can get back out in front with 31 to 60 complete. Now remember, the 7 is not out here racing for a season championship. He is out here racing for individual race payouts. And you know what that means, Dawson? He can afford to be a lot more aggressive than some of the drivers running for the season championship and running for points in general. Herbert still leads on the bottom, but drifts up just a little bit. How long can they do this, Dawson? I don't know. In the 87, he's had enough. He's going to drop to the inside, and he'll fall to the back.
Yeah, probably the smarter decision based on how they're racing right now. Lee cuts left, so too does Malik Ray. Now it's the 7-04, the 82 now leads the top lane. These cars are out of shape. Joe Huerta all over the racetrack. Malik Ray, Kyler Wynn all over the racetrack. These guys are everywhere right now. Not sure if it's maybe the tires have gotten old. They haven't had an opportunity to take any tires tonight or what it is, but these guys are really working left and right and sawing on the wheels, trying to keep these cars straight. Again, edge of control, tight move. Kyler Wynn through the middle lane and leaves Maines and Westmoreland in a bit of a pickle on the top side. Garrett's going to remember that one for later.
Yeah, Garrett right now saying, hey, I pushed you clear. Make sure that you remember me later on in this race. Kyler Wynn now out in front, getting pushed by Malik Ray, hoping to get clear of the bottom, but it's not quite going to be able to happen this time, at least not by the time they race off into turn 3. Matt Lee, Matthew Baker still leading the bottom. Mike Davenport third in that group. And it looks like Garrett Maines, Brock Westmoreland are going to continue to fade here until they can jump back in line unless somebody else jumps up. Next closest car is Evan Carlbon in the 71. Jeff Mert just behind him. He's got some damage from earlier in this race. And then it's Richard Elliott along with another one of the Hyper Motorsports drivers. That's Jonathan Herbert, who we saw drop back. And now, how about the 72? We talked about some of our driver cams earlier. The one that we did not make a stop on yet is this 72 machine of Tony Cox, who sits up 10 positions from where he started this race at. He runs in 17th, and he's looking to see if he can get his way to the front. Still looking for his first win in Tuesday Night Thunder after running multiple seasons. Can he get it this season? We'll see, but so far so good for the 72 here tonight.
Oh my goodness, Kyler Wynn. That was as close as you can get at the front on Matt Lee. Again, like earlier when Michael Triscaro cut across the nose of Garrett Maines. Big time break cut right there by the 04. Now he'll remember it later, but he cuts him a break right now, and again the 5 was not very close to him, so we got away with another one there. I just don't know how many more we're going to be able to get away with. Kyler Wynn, that was awfully close. Garrett Maines, Westmoreland finally content to just drop back in line. They're not going to gain any more ground with only 2 cars on the outside, but now it's Wynn and Ray leading the 2 lines, and all right, back to 2 wide, the calmest racing since the really middle stages of stage 1, it feels like, but the push is not getting any calmer here at the front.
Yeah, as they remain 2 by 2, I want to take a moment to kind of break down what the point standings are currently looking like here with just 7 races complete after tonight, but this was after 6 races complete after last week, where Garrett Maines finds himself currently leading the points battle over Matthew Baker, who sits 2nd. Then it's Matt Lee for Nightmare Esports in 3rd. Christopher McCullough, he's had a good run so far this season as he runs 4th in points. Then it's Jared Haynes back in 5th with John Ward 6th, Joshua McCullough 7th, Landon Velicky 8th, Joe Herta in 9th, and Brock Westmoreland currently rounding out your top 10 in points. But remember, the first round of playoffs goes all the way back to 16 drivers. So Mike Davenport in 11th, Dylan Jones in 12th, Chase Mastretta 13th. Then you've got Trevor Osmanoff in 14th, Ken McCullough Jr. sits back in 15th, and Mark Von Dell, currently the last driver, sitting inside that top 16. Still a long ways to go, Dawson, but I mean, it's never too early in the season to start trying to talk about what points are looking like, who sets up where, and I mean, the fight for the regular season championship, I always felt like is kind of established by the halfway point in the season, at least the drivers that we know will be contending for it. And so far, Matthew Baker, Garrett Maines, they went head-to-head last season, and they're doing more of the same this season. With just 25 laps to go here tonight, we'll see which one of those two can prevail and maybe either extend their lead or try to swap positions for that lead.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And looking back at the points as of last week, with a drop race, which is in the point standings figured in, it's really not even only a 2-horse race. It's almost a 3-horse race for the regular season title because Nightmare's Matt Lee has kind of emerged as that 3rd competitor. He only sits, as of last week, 32 points behind Garrett Maines in the 1 car. So we'll see how it factors in after tonight. But Matt Lee's starting to creep into this battle. And a few other cars as well, including Christopher McCullough, are close. They're in striking distance. They need to string together a few good runs and hope that the 1, the 5, and the 04 encounter some bad luck in the next couple weeks. But really, maybe a 3-horse race instead of 2, and all 3 right now, 4th, 5th, and 6th on the racetrack. They can all see each other around them right now.
Well, it's 24 laps to go, and remember, these drivers are going to try to make this on a 1-stop still. So still a little bit of ways before we make that first and potentially final green flag stop here in the final stage. Further back, you see Eberhard. He's going to jump to the inside. The 0-2 of Logan York. He stays on the outside. Up front, though, Malik Ray, he's going to go from top to bottom. And now look at this. Joe Herta for the Jack Shack looking to see if he can get some laps out in front. Garrett Maines will line him up for a big push here off of turn number 4. Still 2x2, and if Kyler Wynn can find a way to push himself and Malik clear, watch for that 82 to think about jumping up. He can't do it, and so they will stay 2x2 as they cross the stripe. Now just 23 laps to go here at Daytona.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the guys on a heater right now, a team on a heater, is the Jack Shack. But on Tuesday nights, Joe Huerta, what a season he is beginning to have right now in that one car, and now sees the lead for the first time. Now he'll lose it to Malik Ray here on the banking, but he'll get it back about halfway down the back straightaway with the help of Garrett Maines. And look, he's put himself in position a number of times to get to victory lane in the series, at the very least, to get a good finish in this series, and as such, he's up to 9th in points as of last week, well inside the playoff field. Potentially make a run at his, I believe, what would be his first postseason here on Tuesday nights, as he continues to run up in the front, looking for another good finish tonight with 22 to go. Merck on the outside, Elliott with him, first 2 to try 3 wide on this really second to third green flag run of the race. Well, other than the Kyler Wynn contingent earlier, but this is the first group here in this segment of the race to try that third lane. They're going to have some help. Logan York out back, the tension starting to ramp up, the intensity getting a little higher. Guys are getting a little bit less patient to keep their track position, trying to move forward as we approach the pit stop.
Yeah, and Jeff Merck, who leads that top, you see some pretty significant damage to the front, but now Garrett Maines is going to go up top. This will change what I was just getting ready to say. Now the 1 has no help. Here comes Brock Westmoreland in the 4, but it's going to be the 82. He pushes Malik Ray clear. Malik's going to jump up not just to the middle. He went all the way to the top. Now he jumps back down to the middle. Garrett Maines is going to draw even. They are 3 wide for the lead as they cross the start-finish line. 21 laps to go. Kyler Wynn not quite going to get clear of his teammate Garrett, trying to get clear to jump low. He'll have no luck either as they work down into turn number 1. And boy, I'll tell you what, Dawson, I thought with the damage Jeff Merck had on the front grille of that race car, he would struggle in the draft, but he looks like he has just about as much pace as anybody else up here.
And this is just how quickly things can intensify as well. Just a couple cars jump out, it's innocent enough, and all of a sudden we're going left to right, cutting in line, trying to find a spot, throwing blocks, getting out on somebody's nose. All of a sudden, in half a lap, we've ramped up the intensity 3, 4, 5 notches from what it was. Now it will start to cool back down. Jeff Merck's out of temps. He drops off Garrett Maines. Maines going to pinch, try to keep his track position, but it's going to be all for naught. He's got no help right now and no cars that are even thinking about jumping out there. So he will fade, and that's a tough break for Garrett Maines. He worked all that first 3 laps of the second run to get his track position back after fixing damage. And for now, although maybe not for long, was going to fade back. Now he's got some help. Guess who? Logan York in the 0-2. And that's one of the most aggressive pushers in the field tonight. Let's see if those two can make something happen. They got Tucker McClendon with them as well.
And I wonder if that damage for Jeff Merck is part of the reason that he got hot as quick as he did. I know he was doing a lot of pushing, but still a little out of characteristic to see him get that hot that early. Ooh, man, Joe Herta, Garrett Maines, a little bit of contact there. Now they're going to make a little more contact. The 2-1 cars bumping into each other through 3 and 4 as Herta continues to roll the middle. On the bottom, Malik, he's now going to move back up to the middle. And Malik Ray doing everything he can to make sure that that 1 car of Garrett Maines does not get clear. Right now, Malik and Kyler, the 2 teammates, well in control of this race with just 19 laps to go. Oh, man, Garrett all but had it right there. Getting down into turn 1, but just not quite enough. As now Logan York's going to dip out to cool just a little bit. Now he'll tuck back down in line and get ready to do some more pushing here down the backstretch.
Yeah, and the pinching's getting a lot closer, too. A lot less room to work, and you can tell the cars in the middle are really struggling with it, especially Joe Huerta. He struggled with the handling of the car for really the whole run, but now, as he has less room to work, it just gets a little more claustrophobic. You notice that handling a little bit more because of the lack of room to work, the more precision you have to have now. Luckily for him, the third lane fades back into 2, save for Logan York, who's going to get split out by Michael Triscaro, but save for that 0-2 car.
Some trouble back here, Dawson. Sorry to cut you off. Jeff Merck.
Oh, no, you're good.
Is through the grass here down the front stretch. I think he had an issue trying to get into the pits here.
You trying to pit? I think so.
I think so. 18 laps to go here. That's right around the window. Let's back it up and see if something happens with the 60 here. There was one other car that bailed out here. Looks like it was Jonathan Herbert here. And watch Jeff Merck as he's going to make the dive out to the pits. And then does he just overshoot? That's certainly what it looks like, Dawson. That's a really odd look for the 60. Never saw a major lockup, at least from the chopper view. Let's watch the cockpit view. So he makes the left turn. He makes it pretty late. I just think he had he just had way too much speed, Dawson. I don't think he felt like there was any way he was going to get down to speed and time, and felt like instead of a penalty, his better chance would be just stay on the racetrack and, lose that time. A good call there, as you saw Herbert did choose to go down to the pits. He got in clean. And so that's a tough break for Jeff Merck. As we go back up front, though, watch, do we see some more pit stops? We saw some last lap. Corbett, Davenport, Brock Westmoreland, Jeff Merck. He did bring it down this time. And now up front as the leaders work down the backstretch. We'll see if anybody peels off this time around.
Yeah, for Jeff Merck, it's a tough break. Now, lucky for him, he's actually going to maybe hang on to this group. No, he'll actually just now get into his pit box. So it's a tough break, but you have to decide, okay, do I lose the time and just take the potential lap down, or do I end my race essentially with a penalty? Because, trouble! Joe Huerta's around in on the pit road. Garrett Maines is involved. They're both going to hit the wall. Now they're going to spin.
See if this draws the caution. Nothing yet. Looks like Joe Huerta gets a loop back around. He keeps going. That's going to cost a couple of the leaders some time here. Huerta might be okay. I don't know how bad the damage is. It'll be close on if he can stick with the pack. Eberhardt, he's in his stall, as is Logan York and Dylan Jones. Kyler Wynn, there's Evan Carlbon. Joe Huerta, you see some damage to the rear end, potentially that race car. Garrett Maines, he's in his box here as well. So we'll see if there's any penalties sent out right here as we watch the pit lane cam. They're all working their way out. Here comes Joe Huerta. That might have been a mistake. And for Dylan Jones, Daniel Eberhardt, even more mistakes, as now looks like they're going to get held for a penalty.
Yeah, race is claiming more and more drivers as we get in this last pit stop. More cars on the pit road. This is Lee and Veliky, the Nightmare teammates. Baker and Triscaro, the pair of NBG teammates. Ethan Eckert, and then 3 of the McCullough Motorsports cars. Kenny McCullough Jr., Chris McCullough, and Mark Vondell. They'll all make their final pit stops here with 15 laps to go. Does anybody get a penalty? Does anybody slide through their box? Looked all clean to me. This group may have had the cleanest experience of anybody on this round of pit stops.
Yeah, I would agree. This group certainly looked like they got in the best, and as a result, they're going to get out the quickest too. We'll see how things shape out there as the field catches up. But let's go look at this incident here for Joe Huerta that led to him spinning here in the contact between him and Garrett Maines as they got onto the pit. So first off here, we'll go to the aerial shot here. Watch this from the chopper view as Joe Huerta's on the high side. So he knows if he wants to pit, he's got to try to get down. Problem for him is Ethan Eckert's, it doesn't look like, to me at least, Dawson, like Eckert was planning on pitting here, and you can't come down from the top lane unless you know everybody on the inside is going to pit. That starts the contact, and then Garrett, trying to get out of the slide, just kind of slides into the inside wall. Nothing he can do, and Huerta slide down there as well. They make a second contact, and then Huerta gets into the grass and sustains some damage as a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of one of those things where the track narrows up, guys get together, you're trying to get as much as you can getting onto pit road, and sometimes you bite off more than you can chew and come together with somebody, and that's exactly what happened right there. It's a really tough break for Joe Huerta, who I just said was running a really nice race, had a good start to the season, but now unfortunately has damage, got spun, may have gotten a penalty as well, so tough breaks all around there. Oh man, starting to scramble at the front though, as guys
wrecking big out
and they
back.
are wrecking big.
Logan York, Joshua McCullough. Now there's more contact. Ken McCullough Jr. He's turned around. Still no well, now the caution is out. Take that back. Thought for a minute maybe that since it kind of started to hang off the racetrack, they were going to keep it green, but it was certainly a big enough incident to draw the caution. That led to some damage for multiple different drivers here. Just 14 laps to go. We're going to have some things to set up here, so let's go back and take a look at it right away. Joshua McCullough, by the way, not a lead lap driver at the time of this caution. Let's see. This starts in front of him here. This actually all starts with the 3 of Ken McCullough Jr. Man, this series just does not play very favorable luck to the McCullough Motorsports captain, as I'm not sure if they were catching a group here or what. Let's hop on the onboard view. He's running behind Chris, and then he goes to kind of dive down, and he's trying to check up for Chris to let him back down, I think. And then I think he just gets turned from out back here. Let's see, is it a big checkup? Oh yeah, big checkup. Kyler Wynn tries to, I think, jump high at the last second to miss him, but just can't quite get out of the way in time, and instead tags him in the right rear of the bumper, and that just immediately sends the 3 down onto the apron. He's trying to save it, but then as he comes back up, big hit for Logan York, Joshua McCullough, who get tangled together, and then Steve Sizemore, nowhere to go. I think Brock Westmoreland may have made some slight contact, but I think he's okay. And getting the blunt to that one was definitely, I think, going to be Logan York and Joshua McCullough.
Yeah, obviously the checkup was there because that Kyler Wynn-led group was catching Kenny McCullough and company that had just come off pit road. They were going to try to pass them. And then as Kenny and Josh and Chris, and they all try to sort it out, they all go high to block that run because, you know, they don't want that group taking their track position. I think if Kyler hooks a left and hangs it down to the yellow line, I think we avoid an incident there because he tried to go the longer way around. Unfortunately, he gets punished for it. He gets in the back of the 3-car. Kenny McCullough turns him around and then collects a couple of others. Man, if Kyler just turns left, goes down to the yellow line, I'm pretty sure we avoid an incident there. But, again, it happens so fast. You have to basically just make an impulse decision. All right, am I going left or am I going right? In that case, Kyler decided to go right, and it just didn't work out for him. Yeah,
and I was looking there, Michael Triscaro, he took a pretty big hit out of that as well. You got to wonder about how much front-end damage he sustained as a part of this wreck. And then Mark Von Dell, watch this onboard view. I mean, this is about as close as it gets without actually hitting something. He's up top, he sees the spin. Oh, excuse me, that was the wrong view. I was getting ready to say, well, boy, that's not the one I was looking at. He starts, I know he snuck by on the inside here. Yeah, he stays low actually the whole time, and then right at the last second, oh man, almost sideswipes his teammate Ken McCullough Jr. He's able to avoid it, continues on without any damage from that incident. So a nice piece of driving there from Mark Von Dell to miss that one. And then Steve Sizemore, we talked about he had nowhere to go. Give you one more view of this here from the zoomed in shot for Joshua McCullough. And again, watch this hit for him and Logan York. You see for Logan York, all 4 tires up off the ground. And then Michael Triscaro kind of wedges that 05 under the 02 before they eventually get separated. And all are able to drive away, if nothing else. As we now see the 8 of Steve Sizemore in the pits. He continues to get some damage worked on. Meanwhile, back up front, 12 laps to go. Matt Lee being scored as your leader. Matthew Baker in second. Then Envelicki in third with Ethan Eckert in fourth. Christopher McCullough in fifth. Kyler Wynn 6th. Sean Corbett 7th. Malik Ray in 8th. Daniel Eberhardt in 9th. And it's Evan Carlbon currently rounding out your top 10. All right, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. Could be our final one of the night, depending on how the flags fly. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it?
All right, welcome back to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, where we are getting ready for a 10-lap sprint to the finish. Here we go. Matthew Baker, Matt Lee into the Geico restart zone. Green flag is back in the air, 10 to go. Who's going to win it tonight here at Daytona? And I apologize if I mixed it up. Might have said Talladega a time or two tonight. That's where I'm used to being. That's where we've been most of the time over the course of the last few weeks. Of course, not last week with it being Michigan, but not just here in Tuesday Night Thunder, but a lot of the different money racing series. So it's going to be back here at Daytona tonight. And the 2x2 action now is going to quickly fan out to maybe 3x3 as Kyler Wynn, Malik Ray, they're looking high. Here we go. Kyler thought about a move. Now he's going to duck back down to that top lane. The 12 of Ethan Eckert right now, you wonder, does he think about trying to block if that 82 jumps high? Veliky's going to push his teammate Matt Lee clear. Lee jumps to the bottom, and now this is going to put NASCAR eSports 1-2. Veliky on the outside, Lee on the inside.
It's exactly how you drew it up. If you were these Nightmare cars with 10 to go, you're leading both lanes and now have an infinite amount of control over at least what happens in the first couple rows. And beyond that, Kyler Wynn, Malik Ray, you know they want to go. Further back, D3, Daniel Eberhardt and Dylan Jones want to go. You know you're going to see a little bit more of that one car here before this race ends as well. So for now, you've got some control. How long will that last? I'm not sure. Matt Lee, let's see if he goes back to the confines of his teammate here. He will, and it's now Nightmare 1-2 again down the back, but Wynn and Ray, they're still peaking. When do they look out 3 wide in the later stages of this race? Here comes Garrett Maines, D3, jumping out in front, 3 wide, further back.
Yeah, I was going to say that third lane's going to have to get going here pretty soon because, 9 laps left. That's not a lot of time, especially how far back Garrett Maines, Dylan Jones, Daniel Eberhardt are. And now you can see Garrett, he's got some help here in the form of Michael Triscaro and Jeff Merck. Watch for Dylan Jones in the 11 to potentially jump up. What will Daniel Eberhardt do? Meanwhile, back up front, they stay 2x2. Matt Lee still leading the outside, getting pushed by his teammate Landon Veliky. On the bottom, Christopher McCullough trying to keep Matthew Baker out in front for as long as he can. Chris has had a stellar season so far, looking to continue the consistency here tonight. Further back, Eberhardt has looked back to the high side. Now Malik and Kyler are going to jump high down the super stretch. Oh, one in the wall. There they go. They're going to wreck out back. Is the big one going to strike? Yes, it will as the 71 slides back up the racetrack. How many is this one going to collect? The 59 goes through the grass. Eberhardt's going to come back up. Trevor Oswanoth, he's got heavy damage. Off into turn 3. Well, you wondered how far would they go here, the late race restart, before we saw it. And I know we said it was the big one, Dawson. I don't know if it was the big one, definitely the medium one. And maybe it was the big one, and we just haven't seen the extra large one yet. Either way, this one all starts down the backstretch with one car getting into the outside wall. I believe that it was Evan Karlbahn here in the 71. Let's see what happens here. See how this all gets sparked. So watch the 71 here. He's kind of hanging right around the middle, somewhere between the second and third lane. And Eberhardt's going to have a run. Now, this late in the race, Dawson, you got to be committed to a lane. And, well, I take that back. The 71, he was committed up top. He was hanging a little bit, but by the time Eberhardt got there, he was at the top. He's in that third lane, and it's just, Eberhardt lines him up. It looks pretty square, Dawson, but just with how giddy these cars are now, that slight bump, just a little bit more than that 71 could handle, and that contact, you see, it just shoots that 71 car into the wall, and then as Karlbahn tries to yank it back off to save it, car comes back down the racetrack, and the rest is history.
Tough break there for Evan Karlbahn and all the guys involved right there, and it's a couple things that I noticed here. The move was a little bit late. Now, obviously, you said he had him lined up. He did, but the move was a little bit late. By that time, the third line had been formed. Karlbahn did it last second. He saw the run coming, tried to jump out. Because it was late, Garrett Maines had already been on the bumper of Eberhardt halfway down the straightaway. You're going so much faster than that car by the time you get to him that even if you line him up the way this new aero package is, you can line him up all you want to. If you hit him going that fast, you're going to get him out of shape and eventually spin him sideways, and that's exactly what happened. It's a tough break. It's one where Karlbahn probably wants that one back. I understand what he was trying to do, and I think if he does it 3 weeks ago, it probably works for him. But unfortunately, the way the new package is, as fast as those cars were going, that was never going to work. It was just a tad bit too little too late for Karlbahn and the rest of those guys to get that one sorted out.
Boy, look at the nose view right now for Joe Herta. This is the onboard. I don't know how he missed that, but he went for a wild ride through the grass. In fact, I said he missed it. There's no way he misses Mark Vondel right here. This is insane if he managed to not hit the 59. Watch how close this is from the chopper view as Mark Vondel gets clipped by Brock Westmoreland, and that's just, again, a product of everybody trying to dodge the wreck. And oh my goodness, Dawson, did you see how close the 59 and the one were? But I don't think they ever made contact.
Oh man, you gotta love that if you're that driver right there, because you feel like you used a little bit of your luck that maybe you'd saved up throughout the race, and it hits right there. That's a about as close as you can get. Oh my goodness, I'm watching it back for myself now. A matter of centimeters between those two cars, and Joe Huerta's race is still alive.
Wow.
Wow, that is so close.
Oh my goodness, you cannot script it any closer than that. You said it, Dawson, and he actually hit a jump, got some airtime just before that, so style points for in a few different ways right there for Joe Huerta, but he did still have some damage that he had to get fixed anyway, so it unfortunately doesn't work out too well for the one, but still great for TV time, that's for sure. What a save for Joe Huerta trying to miss that wreck. Nicely done. Up front, Matt Lee leading the way and a couple cars on the apron. Dawson, I don't think fuel should be a concern as of yet. Maybe if we start to get into a couple overtimes, maybe Lee just saving to be conservative, as it'll be him and his teammate Landon Velicki who line up the front row right here. Then you've got Matthew Baker, who will be in row 2 alongside Kyler Wynn. Ethan Eckert currently going to be rounding out your top 5. And it looks like this restart, as long as we get the one to go here, which looks like we do, is going to be a 4-lap shootout. And so that means that we've got 3 laps of chaos that we have to complete to take the white flag before this race would even be official.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think fuel is going to be a concern either unless we get into overtime, but you know, we have to wait and see. You never know. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. This one's close enough to the end. It's going to take about a lap to even get up to speed. By that time, you only got to make it around 2 more times to get to the white flag. So we'll see. The intensity's not gonna wind down, that's for sure. Kyler Wynn running 4th, he's not content there. You know, Garrett Maines is not content back around the 8th, 9th, 10th position. Same with Malik Ray. Same with a couple other cars. Dylan Jones, Joe Huerta, Jeff Merck. A lot of cars back there that I don't think are content running where they are right now, that are going to be coming forward, going to be making some bonsai moves, trying to get to the front. The racing's about to intensify once again. But once again, we see the Nightmare teammates. I said you couldn't have drawn it up any better earlier with 10 to go. Well, now it's 5 to go. I think I changed my mind. You could draw it up this well for those 2 cars late in the race. They're both on the front of a row. And, oh, man, they're in a really good spot right now for one of those cars to go to victory lane. Yeah, a great spot to say the least. And, by the way, just before we go back green, a couple quick reminders. Next place, PGR eSports heads. Tomorrow night, OP Racing for the Wednesday night Grand National Series presented by Butt Kicker. Make sure you check that out. And then Thursday, Dawson will be covering the Thursday Throwback Series for OP Racing. And then after that, Matt Mettler will be up in the booth with me for PGR eSports' Intimidator Super Speedway Series as we head to Daytona for the preview of the PGR 500. Winner of that race will get a payout along with a free entry to the PGR 500, the only event that is going to top what we saw in the Summer Slam. Still excited about that, Dawson, even though it's still months away. Of course, that'll happen in early February, but as we get ready to go back green, pick your winner. All bets are off. Here we go. 4-lap shootout to decide the winner here tonight at Daytona. Matt Lee, Landon Velicki, Nightmare Esports will see the green flag fly back in the air. And it's a good restart for Matt Lee. Landon Velicki gets a pretty good one as well. Lee immediately jumps to the top of the racetrack. And now the question is, how patient for how long does Kyler Wynn sit there? Does he think about splitting? Does he wait for somebody else to get that 3rd lane going? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. But right now, it's the 62 and the 04 rolling up top. You got to pick your moment if you're Kyler Wynn, but you certainly don't want Velicki and Lee to be in this good a spot. They're in a really good position now that Lee was able to get up. But the bottom starts to surge. Baker, Eckert, Ray on the bottom side starting to stack up out back. It's Maines that takes the first look to the outside as Baker drives to the lead with a huge push from
big.
Ethan Eckert, and they're wrecking out back.
Big trouble as Garrett Maines got pinched into the wall. Looked like by Sean Corbett. Not sure, there may have been some net code between those two. But oh my goodness. 72 of Tony Cox. Looks like he may have been involved. I think Garrett Maines, yeah, he does have some damage, but he was able to at least drive away. And then for the 45 of Corbett, sure he's going to be able to drive away. Looks like he does, but man, that car is certainly worse for wear, as now this is going to indeed send us into our first overtime. So let's go back and take a look at it. Watch this out back, Dawson, and it almost kind of, I was almost delayed on the call because I almost didn't believe it. It was such an odd-looking wreck, the way it developed, to just see. I mean, the one was there. I have to assume, at least from seeing it live, there had to be something in between these two, but let's see here. So Garrett's on the outside, and then as they get into the turn, Corbett just kind of washes up. You know, it may not be that much, but right here, they are 3 wide. I mean, Garrett is halfway alongside the door of Corbett. And look where they're all lined up. The 55 is towards the bottom. Sean Corbett's got his right side tires on that kind of that seam. And then Garrett's got his left side tires lined up pretty much with that white line. And now let's see. Does Garrett start to creep down? Hey, just not really. He doesn't really creep down to me at all, at least from everything I can see. Doesn't look like Davenport comes up. It just looks like, maybe Corbett thought that they were a little bit tighter than they were in the 3-wide formation and just kind of washes up. And as soon as he gets into mains, they get stuck together. And that's what hooks the 45 into the wall, gives Garrett some damage. And then the 72, as he gets turned back down the racetrack, Joe Herta, Ken McCullough Jr., and Richard Elliott look like they got the worst of that one.
Yeah, it's a tough break for those guys out back. It looks like Corbett just washes up the speedway. I'm not sure what happened there in the 3. But regardless, he washes up, gets Garrett in the wall, and then it really gets bad out back. Joe Huerta took some big hits in this. So did Richard Elliott, a couple other cars as well. It's a tough break for those guys back there. Joe Huerta and those guys had just gotten back to where they could compete again and right back involved in a caution. So really unfortunate for those guys. Ran a good enough race to potentially get in a competitive spot, and unfortunately it's taken away from them just like that. And now sets up an overtime where now you're starting to tap the fuel gauge a little bit. All right, how much can I get out of this thing? Because now we're over the scheduled distance, or we're going to be. And you got to make sure that fuel can go long enough because they pit right at the window number. I mean, it was really close.
Yeah, these cars don't have an eco mode, so all 8 cylinders firing. That's a lot of fuel, even under caution. So you got to try to shut the engine off, coast whenever you can to save as much fuel as possible if you're going to stretch it to the end of this race, especially knowing that this is not guaranteed to be our only overtime. If we get a second one, you never know how things will pan out as we give you a couple more views of that wreck. As that one collected about a handful of them. Good job by Mark Vondell minimizing the damage as he avoided most of the carnage right there. And then I do want to go look at one more view here. This will be the onboard for Sean Corbett, the Hyper Motorsports driver, and see if there was anything that kind of any indication here, if it was just, as we kind of saw from the TV view, just a brief drift up. Let's watch as they get in the corner. Watch his wheel. Yeah, it's just a brief drift up, and they're just running so tight that when he drifts up, just not enough time to really realize it and start to come back down. And looks like in the chat, Heath Job says Garrett did come down slightly. It may have been really, really slight. I could agree with that. It almost looked like maybe just as the 45 was starting to come up, Garrett just, I'm talking probably inches, maybe just slightly creeped down, but certainly a lot more on the 45 drifting up than it was the 1. And, for Garrett, he's, obviously expecting to come down a little bit there to side draft. He's not expecting the 45 to wash up at all. Either way, a tough wreck that takes out a few more of them. As, again, we get ready for overtime here. Dawson, you just finished talking about the fuel mileage here and who can stretch it and who can't. Lights go off on the pace car, and so we'll line back up here for what's going to be a 2-lap shootout. Remember the rules. Got to make it to the white flag for this race to be official. And if we don't, we will rack them up and try it again. Matthew Baker being scored as your race leader. Matt Lee in second. He'll line up behind his teammate here, Landon Velicky. It's the 12 of Ethan Eckert back in third. Malik Ray is Ethan Eckert's in fourth. You've got Malik Ray rounding out your top 5. Kyler Wins in 6th. Mike Davenport 7th. Christopher McCullough in 8th. Richard Elliott 9th. And Dylan Jones rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, going to be interesting here. Baker decides to go with the 12 of Eckert instead of splitting up the Nightmare teammates and now giving them what at times has been the better line. Now, on the race starts, we noticed that early in a run, that bottom lane tends to surge, so maybe Baker is realizing that, but I don't know if I'd put those Nightmare cars together. Now, the saving grace for Baker is Kyler Wynn, because he's not going to be content to ride third in line. He's going to jump out. Where's the help going to come from is my question. Mike Davenport, Richard Elliott, Jeff Merck, are any of those guys going to jump out of line, going to be as eager as Kyler Wynn? Can Malik Ray get up? I don't know. At this point, Kyler is kind of the X factor. If Baker's going to win, he's going to need Kyler to split out, because if he leaves those Nightmare teammates together, I don't know. I probably would have split them up. I would have jumped up top and just taken my hit. If it loses me the race, it loses me the race, but putting those two together is a dangerous combination.
We'll have to see how things pan out, but all right. Going to find out here again. 2-lap shootout. Got to make it at least one time around this 2.5-mile super speedway for this race to be official. We'll have 2 more attempts at overtime if we can't get it done right here. But if we make it to the white flag, all bets are off. It's fight for every position you can get. And by the way, it is a top 6 payout here tonight. So you got to keep that in mind if you're a driver anywhere up here in the top 10. They're all going to be scrapping it out as you see Daniel Eberhard, Jimmy Emos, and a few others with damage now catching the field. There goes the iRacing pace car, potentially for the final time, back into the restart zone. Green flag in the air. 2 laps to go at Daytona. It's a good restart for Matthew Baker. And boy, Landon Velicky, I'm not sure if he got caught sleeping just a little bit or what, but he was not on the back bumper of his teammate. That allows Eckert to push Matthew Baker clear as they get off down into turn number 1. And now what will Baker do? Does he jump up? Does he try to protect? Or does he stay low? Eckert's wanting him to go up. He's not going to. Now Baker has to block high. Eckert thought about going back low. He won't be able to. Now Baker jumps back to the inside to cover Malik Ray. 2x2 is now the 12 of Eckert gets a shove from Matt Lee.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the strategy was there for the 12 and the 5. It was very coordinated to go up. Now Eckert will jump back down to the graces of the 5, but it'll leave the Nightmare teammates in a bit better position than they started. I mean, they gave those guys a free opportunity to get back to the race lead and potentially control this race. They're going to make it back. The question now, who out back is going to make a move for the lead as the field sees the white flag at the line. Eckert on the inside, Lee on the outside. Lee a race winner this season already. Eckert not yet. In the 12 car, can he get to victory lane tonight? Lock himself in the playoffs, getting a huge shove. He's going to throw the block, and now it's going to get interesting. Matt Lee, he's not going to wait. Off turn 2, they're headed for the checkers. There goes Malik Ray and Kyler Wynn on the outside.
Oh, man, they're not going to make it, Dawson. They're starting to beat and bang. Veliky gets into Baker, and all that bumping and banging has allowed the run up top. Here comes Malik Ray and Kyler Wynn. Final time into turn 3. Nightmare eSports. Can they keep Ethan Eckert out in front? Eckert looking for his first win in Tuesday Night Thunder. Here they come off a turn 4. The 12 will block back high. Malik gets into him. Eckert's not going to cover. They're going to drag race all the way to the checkered. Watch out on the bottom. Matt Lee's going to steal it at the checkered flag. Oh my goodness, what a finish. And it's Matt Lee who gets the race win.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Ethan Eckert and Malik Ray get too focused on each other. They got too focused racing one another. They look to their left and realize, oh no, here comes Matt Lee. And at the end of the day, he steals one. Oh my goodness. Matt Lee had no business winning that race. It was either going to be Ray or Eckert. And when they got as high as they did, Matt Lee, thank you very much. I'm going to take this all the way to the checkers, and I'm going to steal away a checkered flag.
What a win that was for Matt Lee. Let's go back and look at this checkered flag moment. This was a pretty close finish, too. Matt Lee, I believe, got it by, let's see what it was. Looks like gap I have was about 0.03 of a second. And so we'll go first here to the TV2 cam. And yeah, no, you summed it up perfect, Dawson. They got way too focused on each other here. Eckert throws the block off of 4, which I don't know if this was the right move here, Dawson. I got to be honest. I know there was a run coming from the top, but you know Lee's also going to have one more push. And so basically it's either I'm finishing first or second, or it's potentially I get wrecked trying to go for the win, which, hey, more power to you. Drivers have different mindsets here. I'm not saying it's a bad move from Eckert. He goes for the block here, and if it's the old package, Dawson, maybe he makes it work. But with the new one, Malik goes to split, and he just can't cover it. Malik makes slight contact. That's what got Eckert out of shape. Now he's split in the middle, and he's just trying to hold on to it, and all that beating and banging, as we talked about, allows Matt Lee to just sneak right on by on the inside. He says, thank you very much. And that's the gap he gets it by at the line, about half a car length. And he can thank Landon Veliky for the push that got him that race win. And you talked about it being a 3-horse race, Matt Lee being that 3rd horse, and now he's going to bring himself even further into the conversation with that performance here tonight.
Well, and you have to consider also where the other guys finished. As I'm looking at my results here live, I'm seeing Garrett Maines 17th, and I'm looking for Matthew Baker. He may have finished even further back than that after the incidents on the last lap. And if that's the case, what a night for Matt Lee points-wise. That may have vaulted him right back into the regular season championship talks with one race, let alone a few. I said he needed a few. He may have only needed one night.
Yeah, maybe, especially with the way that he raced here tonight. So we'll have to see how points shake up. But as for your final results here tonight, again, Matt Lee is your race winner. Malik Ray brings home a 2nd-place finish. And it's Ethan Eckert back in 3rd with Landon Veliky in 4th. Kyler Wynn in 5th, Michael Triscaro in 6th. A good payout position tonight for Michael Triscaro, rounding out the money spots. Mike Davenport finishes 7th, Christopher McCullough in 8th, Dylan Jones in 9th, Brock Westmoreland rounding out your top 10.
Jeff Merck finishes 11th tonight. Tucker McClendon back in 12th. Mark Vondell 13th. Daniel Eberhardt 14th. And Jonathan Herbert in 15th. Richard Elliott finishes 16th tonight. Garrett Maines back in 17th. One of his worst runs of the season tonight. Jared Haynes in 18th. Kenny McCullough in 19th. And Logan York rounding out the top 20.
Trevor Osmanoff for the Jack Shack finishes 21st. Matthew Baker 22nd. Then it's Joe Herta back in 23rd. Sean Corbett 24th. Tony Cox 25th with William H. Scott in 26th. Evan Carlbon 27th. And Joshua McCullough rounds out the field as he finishes tonight in 28th. Back in 29th, Steve Sizemore. And then actually rounding out the field is Jimmy Emos in 30th. All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Daytona. All right, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Going to start first here tonight with your race winner for RMR eSports. It's Matt Lee. Matt, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Well, you get the win, and man, coming off a turn 4, did you think that you were going to be the first car to cross the checkered?
I really didn't know what to think. I thought Ethan was just going to stay on my nose and we were going to run it out there and, try to hold off the top line. But he made a block up top that really killed them and whatever. Cool.
Yeah, pretty much the reaction that we kind of had up here in the booth. Surprised to see that move as well, but it works out for you. And, we were talking about points and where you were standing coming into this race. And with the run you had versus the run some of the competitors, I guess I should say the 2 competitors just ahead of you had, this is a big jump in points. So where do you go from here next week?
I've been really focused on points anyway. So, really been getting aggressive after the stages, been just outside of it the last 2 weeks. So really just trying to grab points and where we can, hopefully playoff points, with stage wins and more wins.
Yeah, wins are certainly the top of the chart. Stage wins second, but either way, you got the race win here tonight. So, hey, before we let you head out to celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Landon and Ethan right there for doing a heck of a job working together. And Baker, we just tried to keep each other safe there. Coming up to the end, you guys put it on the broadcast. Ron for putting this on and doing race control. Martin Sports, anyone looking for sim racing gloves, jerseys, anything, check them out, martinsports906.com.
Thank you for talking to us. Well, again, Matt, congrats on the win here tonight, and we will see you next week.
Appreciate it, Austin.
All right, and now that is going to bring us to your actually looks like Malik is not currently in here, so we'll skip for now to your 3rd place finisher, Ethan Eckert. Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Hey, Ethan, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, you led all the way off turn number 4. Obviously, the decision to block comes back to haunt you a little bit as you and Malik get into it. Take us through that scramble to the checkers as you almost came away with your first victory of the season.
Oh, I just made the wrong move. There's not really much to say about it. I'll learn from it. But, yeah, I pretty much messed up. I would have had a win.
Definitely a tough break, but needed a good run tonight, so you get it. You came into tonight 22nd in the point standings. You're going to gain quite a few spots here and put yourself right back in the playoff conversation. So looking forward now, a few races to go in the regular season. What's the game plan for the 12th team to get into the postseason?
Well, how many make the playoffs again? Is it 16?
It is 16.
All right, well, if it's 16, if I'm in the top, probably 18, I'll probably just try to make good runs, try to stay up there, get points, and racing off points. But tonight, it was kind of win or go home mentality. I thought I needed a win, but I guess I still could have a chance.
Well, absolutely, and we're looking forward to the last few races of the regular season. So, nonetheless, a 3rd place finish, a great run for you tonight, a clean run for you tonight. So, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Thanks for the good pushes I got throughout the whole race. The last lap with Matt, he was pushing really good. I'm just mad at myself, really.
Well, nonetheless, a good run for you tonight, a 3rd place finish. So, go enjoy it, go celebrate. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep.
All right, well, that's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. You could hear kind of I take that back. Looks like Malik has made it into the booth. I was not sure if we were going to be able to get him, but looks like he has. So we will go ahead and pull up Malik right now, see how your 2nd place driver is feeling. He stands by with Dawson Wise.
Yeah, hey, Malik, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
Well, not too bad. Look, kind of a tough break for you. Obviously, you guys got the run. You guys made the right move. You and Kyler had the top line rolling. It looked like you had the race-winning run. Ethan Eckert comes up, decides to block. Take us through your perspective of that last scramble to the checkers.
So coming down the back straightaway, I know me and Kyler had a run, and then we went to the outside of the 62, and the 62, I believe he was I think he just had tunnel vision. And he was following the car that was right in front of him, and he came up and he tagged me just like a tad bit. But then, like in hindsight, whoever was on the bottom was crowding him up the track, so he was just trying to not get hit, which I understand that. Heading into turn 3, everything was fine. And then out of turn 4, I mean, Scott just tried to block, and I'm not mad for him. I mean, it wasn't or not Scott, Ethan. It wasn't like a bad block or anything. Like I would have did the same thing. He came up to the middle. I went up higher. He kept coming up. I tagged him in the right rear. And then we just had a 3-wide finish. That's all that it was. I'm not really mad at anyone for it. I don't know. I enjoyed the racing. I thought it was solid by everybody involved.
Well, and I feel like it kind of goes into the mindset of these guys are racing for points. A little bit more stress-free, obviously coming in week to week and not quite, in the point standings like some of these guys are. So kind of take us through the difference, kind of is it a little bit of a weight off your shoulders, not racing for points, just being able to kind of focus on each week at a time?
So not necessarily, because I mean, I'm going into these races and like I'm trying to get top 5 every time. It's not like I'm like, like being like any more like aggressive like than I would like, like if I was like in the series for points. And I would be in the series for points if I knew about this series when the season started. I didn't know about this until like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So that's why I'm in here now. If I had known about it at the beginning of the season, I don't know, whenever that was, then I'd be racing for, I'd be racing for points just like everybody else is. But I mean, I try to race everybody with like, clean and respect. I don't do anything crazy. I mean, you guys see my driving. It speaks for itself. So.
Well, regardless, a successful run for you tonight, a second place finish, another in a series of good runs here on Tuesday nights. So before we let you go, are there any shout outs, thank yous you'd like to give?
I appreciate Kyler for him helping me as always. And I believe there was a guy that was behind us too. It was Davenport. I appreciate him too, because he could have went lower in the middle and he was trying to help me and Kyler. So I appreciate him as well. And you guys for broadcasting, and Ron for putting on the series. I appreciate it. So thank you guys.
We appreciate you for talking to us. Congratulations on another great finish, a second place run for you tonight. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. And we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right, well, now that is officially going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from the World Center of Racing. Great race, and boy, Malik said he felt like it was a good block, and you know what, Dawson? You like to hear that, and the idea, and I'll tell you what, I know Eckert's upset with himself, but the idea is when you make that last lap block, if a guy gives you all he's got out back and you can still kind of fend it off, it wasn't the worst block, which Eckert kind of did to a degree. It just didn't work out for either party, right? Malik had the run. He wasn't able to get the win. Eckert tried to throw the block. He doesn't get the win. Matley steals it in 3-wide fashion at the line. But, man, what a great finish. What a great race, and looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. Look, this car, I love it since the update. I mean, I love the racing last week. It was very different, but even now on these super speedways, it's so much fun. They're on the edge of control. The pushes aren't stable anymore. They're a lot harder to drive. They're a lot closer to that edge that we see them get to, and it makes the racing really wild and chaotic. In this series, it has definitely benefited from it. Some more great racing tonight. Great finish, as always, in this series. Seems like it's become a tradition. Matt Lee steals one in this regular season championship race. It just got interesting. With only 4 or 5 races to go, 3-horse race for the regular season title. It's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for us here tonight. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, we hope you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, alongside Dawson Wise on PGR eSports. Until next time, have a good night.